I mean, I think the why behind the brand is always really impressive. Any kind of founder that can tell that and articulate it well. And then, just the sheer hyper growth from 500 retail doors in 2025 to we're gonna hit 4,300 by
Wow,
the end
that's
of
a
this
lot.
year. So, I think, like I said, everything else, the beauty and having these great conversations with people like yourself is that I think naturally good tidbits always come out.
Are you ready to hear more? Welcome to the Bulletproof Your CPG Brand podcast. The podcast for entrepreneurial CPG founders who want to protect runway, improve execution, and compete smarter with the resources they already have. I'm your host, Dan Lohman. Now, let's roll up our sleeves and get started. Chrissy, thank you so much for coming on. Can you please start by telling us a little bit about yourself and who you are and why are you doing this?
Yes, yes. I'm so happy to be here. Thank you so much for having me. Um, I am the co-founder and CEO of Sunshine Buns. We are a frozen premium cinnamon roll that's pre-baked. All you have to do is heat it and eat it. No oven required. The recipe really, the legacy really, the DNA of the entire brand started before I was born. My mother came up with this recipe in the 1970s and would sell it for local communities and events for fundraising and never in a profit situation. She wasn't concerned in really starting a business, but she wanted to create a product that she could sell and give back to her community. And she did just that for about 15, 20 years, I think. She did it until her arthritic hands could no longer support the fundraising achievement, although she still does bake all the time, just not at scale like that. So it was really great. As a young child, I would sell them to my elementary school teachers and my middle school teachers. I'd go home and say, my mom's making the buns, or I'd go to school and I'd say, my mom's making the buns, and they would say, great, sign me up for 3 dozen. And, so my entire life, I essentially have been selling Sunshine Buns. In 2022, myself, my husband, and our two best friends decided we were going to turn this into an actual business. It's something I had been wanting to do for a long time with my mom, but she wasn't really interested in doing the business part of it. She's incredibly helpful for the brand, still very present, lives 30 minutes from our R&D kit or 30 seconds from our R&D kitchen, so she's there all the time. But the four of us started it in 2022 outside of a date night and a play one night, and we bought the GoDaddy site, we launched the Instagram, and we started baking and selling from our homes within 10 days of that decision. So, we made the decision, we acted on it, and it was very difficult to manufacture so many, especially because I have 5 kids. My co-founder has 3 kids. We had businesses and we were very busy. So we decided to open up a store in 2024. Opened that in August, and it was fantastic. But pretty quickly we realized, oh, our main goal is to eventually sell, get acquired by someone, and the brick and mortar model is a little slower than wholesale. They're both complex and hard and challenging, but the wholesale model definitely helps you to get to those revenue points quicker than you would normally see on a brick and mortar franchise model. So in early 2025, we decided to go the wholesale launch, and we developed that along with co-packers and what the format was going to be and the packaging. Launched wholesale in 2025, and then 2026 has been a wildly accelerated growth year. So by the end of the year, we're going to be in select targets. That's all I can say right now. Another national retailer, which I can't say yet, will be launching in Costco in August, and several other independent conventional grocers all over the country, totaling about 4,300 by the end of the year. So it's exciting times over here. Did I answer your question, Dan?
Yeah, no, actually more. You a great story. I appreciate it. So let me back up a little bit and unravel some of
Yeah.
that.
Yeah.
I first found you or first bumped into you, if you will, through the LinkedIn feed. and you were talking about your product at Expo West. And it was the passion, the enthusiasm in your team. That's why I became really enthusiastic about follow and seeing what you're talking about. And then I appreciate the fact that you share everything, the not so good stuff, the difficult stuff, the founder troubles and stuff like that. I can't think of what are the terminologies. Oh, imposter syndrome, all the way through. Why am I doing this? And God, does this make sense? So let's talk a little bit more about that part of the journey because I think what's interesting and the reason I really wanted to have you on is because you have a lot to share, a lot to offer. So let's talk about that part of the journey and then we'll jump back into the future, into to the current.
Awesome. Yeah, I mean, I very much, as a founder, CEO, brand builder, and consumer, I'm simultaneously all those things. I value the origin behind a story, and I value, especially in the season I am in, which is hyper growth and, often feels like I'm drowning without a life preserve. I need to hear those other stories. I need to hear that founders have struggled and won, and they have, um, fallen flat on their face and won a race. I need to hear all of those things. So I decided that if I needed to hear that, I needed to be someone who would share my journey and exactly what that looks like and how we're winning, how we're losing, how we're, the many times we failed. And it's essential as a brand ambassador. And frankly, anyone building during this time should be sharing that so that people coming behind us or even people ahead of us can see where they've been and see something maybe I post on LinkedIn and say, gosh, I really should be sharing more about what I've learned. And then for those that are coming can really say like, wow, Chrissy had no CPG experience and she jumped into the deep end of the pool and just went for it. And I can probably go for it too. And I think as humans and entrepreneurs, we owe that to each other that to share our life lessons. And it's something I take a lot of pride in. And I'm very thoughtful on when I will post and how I will post and what the mark I want to leave on this world. So it's incredibly valuable to me. So thank you for being a fan and following along.
I think your story is great, and I love the way that you're interacting and the way you're sharing all those really raw moments. And sort of a side note, before I hit the record button, we were talking a little bit, and I said I have a lot of resources, et cetera, and you're interested in those. So let me kind of give you that segue. So years ago, I was a founder and a CEO of a business, a startup, a really cool business. That's not, we'll talk about that some other time. But the point being is, I was going to the incubators. I was doing everything I could do to put myself in your shoes effectively back then, learn about this, etc. So it's one of the reasons I started the podcast. And my point being is that I interview people like you and other people who have been through this. So there are a lot of great stories. So for example, episode 100 is some of the icons in our industry. The question I asked them is, what would you tell your younger self? And I think I'm at episode 225 now. So the point is there's a lot of history. So point
Yeah.
being is go back and check that out. But
Yes.
with what you're saying, you're absolutely right. I could not agree with you more. I think one of the biggest, I hate to say it this way, but failures of this industry is that we don't do enough to help founders like you with everything you need to know to move forward. And like you said, how do I know if I'm doing it right, et cetera? So first of all, I'm impressed with your growth. And so you've got to have an incredible team behind you. Can you talk a little bit about how you assembled the team?
Yeah. I mean, we are quite lean at this point. It's myself, my husband, and then our two partners. So we have four founders, which is incredible. Often people are like, I'm just going to build alone. I think that while it has its challenges, co-building, having someone that's in the trenches with you is vitally important. More so in your down periods than in your up periods. So I think that's essential to have great partners. And then, as we looked to building the broader team, particularly where are our holes and blind spots as the four founders? and what needs to be filled first based off of those blind spots. And that's often in operations when you're coming from someone that has little to zero CPG experience, which is all four of us, and in the financial piece, especially when we're going from such small revenues to such large revenues in such a short period of time. And, building the fundraising deck and exactly what that looks like. Those are, this is a razor margin thin industry, especially when you couple that with frozen and trying to hit mass market, all those things, velocity and that. So having someone that really understands your blind spots before saying, listen, I understand marketing. Now I need to hire someone under me that can offload that. I think your initial steps should be where are huge blind spots that are vitally important to the success of this company. Maybe I work a little bit longer in the areas I don't necessarily want to, but I'm good at, so that I can hurry and engage with those blind spots and get them covered before I relieve some of my initial duties. So we've brought on a CFO who has great experience. He comes from General Mills, so that's incredible because he knows exactly what we're doing and has done it before. And then we brought on a COO who comes from several hyper-growth consumer brands, which was an important story for us. And I think as you're building out your team as a founder, it's important to say, can this person get me to 5 million in revenue, 10 million in revenue, 50 million and 100 million? Or can they only get me to 2 million? And if that's the case, maybe it's based on funding and you can only pay someone, a little amount and you can't get these kind of all-star people. I think you need to take a step back and say they might be expensive, but they're worth it because things can happen so quickly in CPG from a wholesale perspective that you have to be able to have that foundational team really built into your structure in order to win well, not run out of money, and be able to support the operations. So filling the blind gaps and then paying for A plus talent maybe more before you're ready to. It will cost you far more to hire someone bad than it will to hire someone good.
I appreciate you saying that. And actually, that's exactly what I was going to say a little differently, but exactly what I was going to say because the biggest challenge that founders face is that they're the biggest bottleneck. So
Right.
you're exactly right. One, I agree that you should know every aspect of your business. You should be able to do everything or at least have an understanding of it. But then to find the right people to manage it and to help you grow and scale, brilliant. And to your point, a lot of companies sadly don't appreciate wisdom and experience. They look at an amount and they try to
Right.
hire for that amount or for whatever that role is without thinking about how the right person can help you punch above your weight. So for example, with you, I would never, ever, ever, ever recommend you going into Costco this early, but obviously you've got the right people that can help you do that.
Right. Right.
And so the point is, on one hand, that would stall your growth. But if you're able to do it and make sure you've got the right product, that's going to explode your growth. Costco alone is going to, it's amazing what I used to be a grocery manager at Price Club before it became Costco.
Yes.
I
Yes.
know the
Yes.
kind of volume they can produce. So
Hmm.
congratulations with that.
Thank you. Thank
So
you.
your thoughts, and please go on with that.
No, I completely agree with you. And going back even further to what I was saying and what you were also saying is that if you are new to this industry, it's your responsibility as a founder to learn as much as humanly possible about this industry. Because when the time comes where you can hire someone, you have to be able to know what this person is saying. Are they speaking truth? Are they just talking circles around me? Are they truly experts in what they're doing? Because I, as the founder, have digested so much information that now I have become, I've essentially been awarded my PhD in CPG. And it's been tremendous sacrifice. Like I give up all of my spare time to consume information and knowledge as fast as possible so that I know what to look for to be able to build a stellar team. So you don't have to be an expert all the way granularly in trade and demo, but you better know enough to be able to hire a true expert to be able to do that for you. Instead of just looking at a resume and being like, oh, this person worked at Kodiak Cakes, they know what they're doing. You have to be able to articulate the questions that will then, spark either a great strategy or a not so great strategy. And you won't know that unless you make yourself a true expert in this incredibly complex field. So I completely agree with you. And yeah, the Costco, we're 8 weeks away. I posted about it today on my LinkedIn. And it's incredibly scary. We're not doing a road show, which is wonderful, but it's also scary because, like you said, the energy at Expo West and the trade shows we go to is tangible. And when the founders aren't there, the product has to be able to sell itself. So then it becomes how can you build the media and content and demo structure to pick up the slack and get that messaging across when the founders can't physically be present to dance in the halls of Costco and say, try our buns with the bun babes and the bunkinis, everything that comes along with the tangible aspects of the brand. How can you become strategic enough to have massive velocity through what your content and sell through strategy is without founder being present? So that's what we're working on very quickly as we speak, and exactly what that looks like for the August launch.
Congratulations. I'm just
Thank
so
you.
impressed with what you're doing. So,
Thank you so
again,
much.
a lot to unpack here. So, I've got a
Yes.
recommendation for you as far as demos. He was on episode,
Fantastic.
so he's on episode 317,
Okay.
and he is an expert in the industry. His name is Andrew Therian. I would recommend him head and tails above anyone else. So you can actually
Amazing.
go listen to him.
Okay.
He's been on 4 times.
Okay.
And
Okay.
honestly, I trust him more than anyone in the industry. But more importantly, he just gives a master class in how to do what you're asking. Okay.
Yeah, that's fantastic. I would
So
love it if you could connect me with him too,
I will
offline, Dan. That
absolutely.
would be great. That would
Yeah,
be
I
great.
count on it. So there's
Thank you.
that. Two, I love the fact that you're smart enough, the way you put it, my words, that you're smart enough to know what you're not good at. One of the sad things I say is I mentor a lot of brands, and I'll hear a founder say, well, I did accounting in college, so I'm going to do the books. And they're lousy at it and they hate it and they're miserable.
Yeah.
They're not out doing what they want to do. So, their
Yeah.
superpower is something else, someplace else. So I love the fact that you are aligned with learning it, but then farming it out to the right people. And then the other thing is you talk about the product selling itself. This is the Achilles heel, literally, of every
Right.
brand I work with, is
Right.
that, and here's the analogy. If I ask you Coke, Pepsi, does it name, you name a brand, and you go to 100 different people and say, what does that brand represent? You're going to get several different reasons.
Right.
If you have, if you go to do the same idea behind your brand and you get several different reasons, you've got a problem if the
Right.
customer doesn't understand you. And I use Patagonia as perhaps the best example. And the reason for that is everyone knows who they stand for, what they are, super
Right.
premium brand, everything else. So leveraging that, your brand story is critical. So let me layer in
Absolutely.
one other thing I want to throw at you is that game where if I tell you a story and you tell someone else and they tell someone else and so on and so forth, by the time it comes back around to you, it's unrecognizable. That is the thing you need to fix first. And I've got a few strategies around that. I'll send you offline, and
That
they're
would
actually
be
talked about on
fantastic.
podcasts. But the
Yeah.
point is, if you as a founder, like you said, could could get that energy to whoever and put that in front of whoever's working with your brand, communicating to the retailers, et cetera, especially Costco,
Of
that's
course.
going to be a game changer for you.
Yeah, I absolutely love what you're saying and would take any, advice or experience that you could share. I think from where we are and um, how we speak as a brand, it was incredibly vital and important for us to establish a brand universe in
Yep.
everything that we do so that anytime someone comes into contact with Sunshine Buns, it's the exact same feel that, whether it's a billboard or a marketing campaign or an influencer, UGC content play, or even a demo, that whatever the consumer, whenever the consumer touches Sunshine Buns, it's the exact same feeling. And that, that goes all the way down to our creative briefs at food shows and our creative briefs at brand photography and product shoots. And, when we're telling our Instacart story, all of this is super connected and it has to be a giant loop. And I think we understood enough about brand to be able to establish what that brand universe looked like before we even launched, certainly in 2026, but we really established what do we want it to feel like, so that if you could, like pick a celebrity and say that person is what Sunshine Buns feels like. You want your brand to feel that easily to digest, from a consumer standpoint. So we've been really intentional about that.
Absolutely. Well, thank you for sharing that. So, question
Yes.
along those lines, you collect my email address if I'm on your website. What do you do with that?
Well, that's a great question. I don't exactly know what the email marketing people are doing. That I will have to get on that ASAP. I know that there has been follow up on newsletters and, sign up for the Bun Club. And because we have that brick and mortar store, so you can come in, they get value points and things like that, free stuff. But I don't know if we're actually launching any sort of campaign. So I'm glad you brought that up because I'm going to get on them ASAP and say, hey, let's do a retail strategy, because up to this point, all the inquiries that come in, I think that our email marketing is probably only thinking about the food store and not the retail. So I'm glad you brought that up. I'll get on that ASAP.
So, you want some homework?
Yes, I would love homework. I
Okay.
have I have
So,
nothing going on, so
okay, I know you have so much free time. Just kidding.
no, I would
It's,
love homework.
but so you're out. So let's get into some strategy right now. This is
Yeah.
going to help you. And this is something that I do that's radically different than anyone else I've ever talked to.
Yes.
So I have homework for you. So
Okay.
you, like everyone else, you're collecting my email address. The problem is this. Most brands, they talk at us. I'm
Mhm.
Pepsi, Coke, doesn't matter
Mhm.
what brand it is. I'm wonderful. You need to buy my product. Why? Because I'm wonderful and because our product's great and you need to buy it. Okay. That's not the way you want to communicate. So many people with influencers and stuff like that, they think it's all about getting content out. Wrong. You want to have the same conversation with me on your email list that you're having with me on LinkedIn.
That's so smart.
Yeah. And so instead of just talking to me saying, hey, try our new products, you're responding, you're connecting with me, you're commenting, you're sharing with me, you're telling me something raw about your business. And let's say all of a sudden that you come up with a new product. You want to go, I want to make chocolate or banana. Which one should I go? You could ask me as one of your loyal fans, and I will tell you, I will help you co-create the next thing I want you to build.
That's
Okay.
such a smart idea.
Thank you. And then the cool thing is, not only do I save a lot of on the R&D, but I can also leverage that at retail. And so I could go into retail and say, hey, I've already got people lining up to buy this thing. You need to get it on the shelf.
Oh, that's so smart.
Like that. And then
Yes.
here's the best part. Once you do that, I'm on your email list, right? You say
Yeah.
okay, you like chocolate or banana. You say, okay, here's what everyone said they want banana, they like banana best. Would you like us to send you some to try it?
Oh, that's
And
such a
so
smart idea.
yeah, then I can validate whether or not it's a good thing
Yes.
before you start making packaging,
That's a
before you start
fantastic
spending any money.
idea.
Okay,
Yes.
thank you. And then on the best, and then this keeps going getting better. Then on top of that, if I walk into a store today and you're on my list, I'm subsidizing the volume. Your promotional dollars there are wasted. There are more effective ways to reward me as a customer. If you are nurturing me properly on my email list through your list, then you can reward me and then I can hopefully also get other people to interested in. So you can take an occasional shopper, convert me into a loyal evangelist and
That's
drive
a
traffic in the retailer
fantastic
and stuff like that.
idea.
So we can talk
Yes.
more about that. But my point is put that thing to use. Okay.
Yes. That's such a good idea. And,
Thanks.
we're, as you say that, I'm just thinking live. It's wonderful because we do have a brick and mortar. So
Right.
we already have so much first person data, right? Because people come in every single day and get it. So we're also able to back up, like two best flavors for the extension line. We already have that. So now we know that the consumer coming in already loves those. So now we can really pressure test. Okay, so between this top seller and this top seller, what's your favorite top seller? So that's wonderful to couple with the retail brick and mortar.
It is.
It's wonderful.
Well,
Yes.
that'd be a great with strategy. And let's go one step further. The problem with your brick and mortar store is that your local neighborhood is not going to be the whole world.
Of
And so,
course.
and here's the problem. Here's why this matters. Chrissy, if I'm a brand like Coke, Pepsi, I mean, I could tell you all sorts of stories. I know I keep saying those brands. When I worked for Unilever, we came up with a really, really cool product that was going to reshape the category. And we tested it, and all the consumer groups said, "Hey, this thing's amazing." They always say that, okay?
Right,
But when
right.
we got out to retail, they didn't bother to make sure the thing would fit on the shelf, the refill. And
Mm,
so the point is, if you're asking me, the consumer, through your loyal tribe, etc., then you can help validate that, and then you can build strategy around that, and then again leverage it at retail. And here's the
of
best part.
course.
Retailers don't want your product on the shelf. They want the customer that buys your product in
Of
their store.
course. Yeah.
So now you know something else about the category, about the shopper, about the basket. When I buy your product, what else am I buying, et cetera. Make sense?
That is so smart. Yes. Thank you so much.
No, it's not homework,
That's
okay?
so
So right
smart.
on that. Well, and then now I want you to do that. And I want
Mhm.
you to find other brands that you could leverage so that you could co-promote.
That's such a
And then
smart
you could,
idea.
yeah, and then mix
Absolutely.
your audience with their audience. So thank you.
Yes. Oh, that's
So,
fantastic.
so what are you doing talking to me? You've got homework. Just kidding. Yeah. So anyhow, so those are a lot of the strategies that I talked about. And so
Yes.
again, podcast is a wealth of information, but let's get back to you. I love the way that you communicate on LinkedIn. Like I keep saying, the fact that you're inviting me into your conversation. A lot of people, like I said, just post and say, look at what I did or look at what I've got.
Right.
You're saying, hey, here's something that's going on. Can you help me? Or
Mhm.
I'm really struggling with this, or being a mom and how does it work and all that other stuff. Talk more about, like you're saying, that authenticity. Where does that come from?
Yeah, I mean, I think I have always been naturally, I was just born naturally not share, very outgoing, or not shy, very outgoing. I'm a leader, natural born leader. I find, I can be drawn. I played sports. I have very much enjoyed sharing and winning and lost my entire life, as a collective, right? Not just as an individual. I think something that hits closer to home is when I was 26, I went through a really painful divorce and I had a child, and there was such little access to people saying that they had survived divorce. It's not like there was this forum back in 2007 that I could go to where they would say, we're divorce survivors. It was just like, what is my immediate community giving me to help me get through this awful thing at such a young age? Like those are 26 is very young to have a baby very young and to go be divorced very young. And I would find myself walking into a room while I was going through this very tumultuous time, looking at a room of people and saying, I wonder how many of these people are divorced. And if they could raise their hand, they would probably tell me that they made it through their divorce. But I can't do that. And that struck me so clear in that moment, Dan, that I promised myself that if I went through difficult things, I would share it with my immediate community. Whether that's online, my friends at a lunch, on a podcast, at my local church, at my PTA, whatever it is. If I went through something that was difficult, I would share. And I think I value that so much in others that I want to be able to provide that for other people. So I think going through something really traumatic at a young age, and wanting that for myself really opened up what the possibility of being that type of person, an adult in the future could be. And it's like My parents' generation, the boomer generation, it was very much like suffer in silence and don't share when you've gone through hard things, and there's no such thing as therapy. And I think my parents are very old school. They were both 40 and 42 when I was born, so there's a large generational gap there. And I grew up in a home where it was like, don't overly share. And I love my parents dearly. They're incredible. But I wish that they would have shared suffering more because where I grew up, my dad was an executive. We lived 30 seconds from the beach. Like I didn't really think life was hard, and then all of a sudden I'm hit with it. And I'm like, oh crap, my parents have been married forever. My brothers have been married forever. I didn't know that people got divorced, really. So I think as we grow as a society, it's becoming more acceptable to share, and it's being more, it's an achievement. I was listening to somebody who started, what brand did he start? I can't remember, but it was early 2000s, and it was, oh my gosh, what's his name? Oh, he's like one of the richest men in the world. Um, People compare him to Elon Musk. I can't remember his name, but he was saying that he found success in a lot of venture capital. And then he started sharing personal tidbits about himself on X, Twitter at the time. And people would say, what are you doing? Why are you sharing all this personal stuff? You're going to lose your credibility. And this was at a time where people were starting to share personal anecdotes. And he said, I'm doubling down. And it completely transformed his portfolio, his relationships with people, the ability to be vulnerable and be a place where people felt like they could, have real conversations with you. Because at the end of the day, we're all human. We all suffer. We all win. This is an experiment, and I think we need to heavily lean on each other, our experts and people who have suffered.
I appreciate you sharing all that. In fact, actually, sadly, I'm kind of guilty of that myself. I'm a boomer.
Yes.
But I I actually mentioned the failure of my business back on episode 269 for the first time. And I will share more publicly
I
about it. And
love
then
that.
the rest of the story was VC basically took it out from underneath us.
What did you? Yeah,
But I'll share all the I am trying to get to the point where I can start leveraging my stories.
of
But to your
course.
point, the other thing that, and I'm really proud of you for doing this, is the stigmatism that goes with a lot of that stuff. As a single parent, I cannot tell you how many times I'd be in a restaurant with my kids and hearing someone from the next table saying, "Oh, isn't that sad?" or "Isn't that nice? That poor single divorced father's whatever." So, anyhow, sorry you went through that. But, and one of the things I want to celebrate you for also is your tenacity.
Thank
So,
you.
your ability to, okay, so I don't want to say you tackled Kevin Costner in a hallway, but the
I
story,
did. That's exactly what I did.
well, okay, then I can say that. But the story behind that was so cool. But my point is, you're doing whatever it takes to make it win.
Yeah.
So talk
Yeah.
more about that.
Yeah, I think, and I am so proud of you, Dan, because listen, we can talk all day about how boomers won't share, but I know what your parents put you through. I know you boomers have done more for this country than any other generation,
Well, thank you.
in terms of getting better and better. Like I am aware that, your parents going through depression, like this, we're talking about it was hard. It was so much more difficult than things are today. So I understand that boomers are so incredible, and I'm happy that they will be. I do see that that's happening, and barriers are breaking, and they're feeling more comfortable to share. So it's awesome. But yeah, I think while my parents didn't share necessarily the suffering, they did share that through action that life is challenging and that you have to work so hard to make something for yourself. My dad grew up very poor. My mom grew up very poor, and they worked tirelessly to provide a better life for their children. And while I was a recipient of that, I do know that the struggles, I would see my dad's town where he grew up, and I'm like, oh my gosh, this is nothing like the life that he's provided me now. And I think that was part of my DNA is that I only have three older brothers. There's no other girls in my family. So I grew up very like tough and rough and you're gonna get stomped to the ground if you can't make a name for yourself and all that stuff. So I think I might come more naturally to be tenacious, but I also learned a significant lesson through my parents and how much they sacrificed to get to where they were. So it's really the sacrifice of those who came before me that really instilled that characteristic in me.
I appreciate you saying all that. Thank you. And what's really cool about what you're sharing, and this is so unique. I saw this in your LinkedIn profile and the comments that you're making, is that you're tapping into that humble, that story, that I don't know how I want to put it, but the point is, so many people think that they can go alone, one, and two, they're not respecting the values of the people that brought them to the dance, so to speak.
Right,
That wisdom and experience, talked about that a minute ago. You were smart enough to hire the right people to help you scale, to help set you up for success. So many brands don't do that. And I've got stories after story after story on the podcast of someone who listened to someone, took their advice, and it just damn near killed the brand.
right.
So you've done it right. So again, hats off to you.
Thank
That's
you.
really cool. And also thank you so much for sharing. So what's in the future? What are you looking for? Is there something else I can help you with specifically?
I mean, the future is so great. It's unwritten. I'm excited. There's so much potential at every turn. But honestly, Dan, more than anything, the money is great. The acquisition is going to be great. That's going to be wonderful days. But I think what I'm learning and loving is that who I'm becoming in this journey is damn near the best that I can possibly be through constant breakdowns of being humble and saying like I don't know what to do here. I need some help and allowing myself to be vulnerable, learn from a lesson, make myself better, go through the refiner's fire. And I'm not ready to give that up. So I hope that I will just continue to become the best version of myself so that I'm able to share it with those coming up and those who have been and really create something in my future, when we sell this that will be able to help others. At the end of this whole thing, I want to become someone who can make the world a better place. I know that is cliched and sounds cheesy, but that's honestly what this whole journey is becoming about. It was so much about acquisition in the beginning and how quickly can I sell this to hold on. This is so much fun. I'm not ready to give this up. Let's ride this thing out as long as we can. Play this game, enjoy the journey, and become a better person.
Thank you for sharing that. In fact, the reason I love natural is because what makes natural natural are people that want to do more, to give more. So my mission is to help brands like you scale and thrive, get more runway, etc., so that you can do more good on my behalf. The mission-driven brands that, I can't solve a food desert. I can't provide clean drinking water
Of
in a third
course.
world country myself. But if I
Right.
can help support those brands, so my point is, so you've got that, and in this community also you've got a lot of other people that are willing to help out. So
Mhm.
thank you for sharing that because that means more than anything. At the end of the day, it's capitalism, but it's also how do you give back? How do you build it right? And that's exciting to hear.
Yeah, I
Uh,
like I like the term responsible capitalism. I also like that you're the goal is to build something so that you can have freedom and then freedom to give back because if you're constantly, if you can't feed yourself, you're certainly not going to be worrying about feeding elephants in Africa. So, you got to get to that so that you can have freedom so that you can help others. Really, that's what it's all about. great responsibility, great freedom comes great responsibility. So I take that very seriously, and very much subscribe to that sort of thinking.
Well, again, it shows in your communication. So back to your homework, leverage that in the way that you communicate with me on your list.
That's so
Talk to
smart,
me like
Dan.
a person. Well, thank you. So talk to me like a person, invite me in, learn about me, learn about how I use your brand. How do I celebrate your brand? When I take your product home, how do I use it? How do I share it? How do I everything, right? So you
Right.
get to know me as a person the way I'm getting to know you on LinkedIn.
That's
Okay.
so smart.
One,
Yes.
yeah, and then leverage that because this is how you future-proof your brand. If
Hmm.
you've got a bunch of loyal people like me, let's back up. When you have your product in a retail store or you're promoting or on a social media network, doesn't matter which one it is, you're renting space.
Hmm.
Simple as that. Retailers don't sell anything. They don't make anything. They sell space. A lot of people forget that. But if you can leverage this strategy, that's how you future-proof your brand.
That's
So
so
that
smart.
if you're to get kicked out of a store, now you've got me to stay as a customer.
That's so smart. That's so
Thanks.
smart.
Thanks. I appreciate it. Well,
No
and
one
it's
said
actually
that, said
something,
it to me like that before. So smart.
I'm doubling down on. So I've hinted at it before. So I took a break. You listen to 269, episode
Yes,
269,
yes, yes.
and you'll hear with the transition, the new focus center. And the old shows are great. They've all been rebranded. But I went from brand secrets and strategies to bulletproof your CPG brand
Yeah.
for the podcast and retail salt for the email. I mean, for the website. But my
Yeah.
point is, this isn't about me. My point is, it's about leveraging that. And so you're going to hear a lot more of those strategies going forward. I'm going to spell them out. I'm going to get more in the trenches with the digital strategies you should own, etc. So this is definitely a conversation that I will continue to happen and continue to have. And what I would challenge you and everyone listening to this is send me your questions and I'll do my best to answer them. And if I can answer them, I'll find the experts to bring on to help answer them.
Thank you
So,
so much, Dan. I will
well, thank you.
utilize all of your expertise, whatever you've got.
Well, I'll send you a link, the email when we're finished. Just kidding. So that'll be fun.
Fantastic.
No, it'll be fun. And I appreciate your time. So I don't want to, I want to respect your time. What else do you want to share about Sunshine Buns, about your journey, about what you're doing, about what you're thinking?
I think, I want to commit to making sure that we don't ever compromise on our quality.
Good.
As we become bigger, more manufacturing plants, outside investors, people coming on board may want to, cheapen the brand for profit margin and, whatever else rolls up into EBITDA and what the financial landscape of the broader company looks like. But I want to commit to telling my consumer through podcasts and conversations like this that we will maintain quality and that you will be eating a premium, indulgent, delicious cinnamon roll that is exactly what Mima would make you if you came into her house. So I think I want that to be at the heart of all my messaging, especially as we do grow into this hyper growth mode. Those are constant conversations that us as a founding team have to be so firm on as our number one pillar is to not compromise on quality and that Mima's seal has to be on the bun. How can we automate in other ways to make up for that? Because that's an important piece of the story, but always committing to making sure that the product remains quality.
Thank you. And a brand is a promise delivered.
Yeah,
And I keep going back to that. So thank you for focusing on that because, and the brand is not only the product, it's your
of
promise. It's
course.
what you
Of course.
stand behind. So
Yes.
in fact,
Yes.
going back to that story, the challenge is usually a founder solves a problem that they had themselves. You're
Hmm.
kind of that way. I mean, in a
Hmm.
way, but then how do you get everyone, your brokers, everyone to communicate with the same passion, enthusiasm? And by the way, you are so articulate. And
Thank you.
so,
Yeah.
I mean, you're just the confidence, the articulation, the tenacity, everything. I'm really impressed with who you are. I've been really looking forward to meeting you. So thank you for making time for me.
Thank you so much, Dan. I really appreciate it. My 4-year bachelor's degree is in English literature. So if I can do anything well, it's read and write and articulate. So I've got
Well,
that going for me.
I would argue that there's a lot more to you than
Oh,
the
thank
and the
you.
point is you get a degree, fine. Okay, but
Right,
now what do
right,
you do with it? And
right.
the way you show up, that means more than anything. Your feet and your lips are moving in the same direction. Let's put it that way.
Thank you so
And
much, Dan.
so many brands don't do that.
That's a great bumper sticker. I'm gonna put that on my car,
You should.
theoretically,
Or
you know.
on the backside of your new
Yes.
yes. I'm trying to think,
Our
what do
feet
they
and our
call them?
lips are moving in the same direction.
There you go. Well, I'm trying to think what your I can't think of your mascots. Put it
A
on there.
Bud. His
Yeah.
name's Bud. Bud the
Right.
Bun.
Okay, cool. Yeah, I
Bud the
saw pictures
Bun.
of that. Cool.
He's
You
pretty
have it?
funny. He's pretty funny. Yeah, we're going to Fancy Foods, here in New York in about two
Right.
and a half weeks. And we have a giant Bud the Bun who is 6.5 feet tall and 4 feet wide. And he's real cheeky in the
Really?
best version possible. Yes. He's a
So
good time.
am I going to be having nightmares like Ghostbusters?
Probably. Probably.
That's fun.
But great nightmares, you know?
No, no,
So
that's good. We'll taste
will
it.
you be at the show? Will you be
No,
going to
unfortunately, I won't
Okay.
be. But
Okay.
I wish I could, but I
Yeah,
that's a fun show.
it
But
is.
enjoy yourself. Anything else you want to share?
No, thank you so much. If you're listening, please, follow us along. You can follow me personally on LinkedIn, Chrissy Hammer. The brand has a great presence on Instagram, sunshinebuns.co. Same with TikTok, Sunshine Buns, and Instacart, and hopefully a retailer near you.
Looking forward to it. So thanks, Chrissy. I really appreciate you coming on.
Yeah, thanks, Dan. Oh, I said just happy to be here.
Well, thank you so much for sharing everything you have. I appreciate it. Before we wrap up, I created a free guide for this episode called the Shopper Signal Flywheel. Most CPG brands use email to send coupons, announce products, or remind shoppers to buy. That can help, but your email list can be much more than a promotional channel. It can become a practical shopper signal system. It can help you learn why shoppers buy, why they repeat, what they value, what they want next, and how to turn occasional shoppers into loyal evangelists. That insight can strengthen your email strategy, your product strategy, your retail story, and your ability to make better decisions with less guesswork. You can download the free guide at retailsolve.com/guide31. Again, that is retailsolve.com/guide31. Use it to start thinking differently about your email list, your shopper relationship, and the retail proof your brand may already be able to build. Thanks again for joining me on the Bulletproof Your CPG Brand podcast. If this episode helped you see your business differently, follow the show, leave a comment, and share it with another founder who needs it. You can download this episode's free guide in the show notes. And if you want to start with the bigger picture, run the free 15-minute CPG runway leak finder at retailsolve.com/find leaks. Before you raise more money, cut the wrong thing, or fund another promotion, find where your cash, margin, execution, and decision quality may already be leaking inside your business. I'll see you in the next episode at retailsolve.com/session327.